elves are a superstitious and cowardly lot, so my disguise must be able to strike terror in their hearts. Because we're talking movies, we're talking The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, and Jeffrey Wright, written by Peter Craig and Matt Reeves, who also directed the film. Riddle me this: the less of them you have, the more one is worth.
Are those friends? What the hell is this? Good cop? Batshit cop?
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How'd You Like That Movie? Tonight, we're talking about The Batman. Not Batman, not The Dark Knight, The Batman from 2022. Scott, I feel like this is going to be kind of up your lane or up your belfry or, I don't know, some type of bat metaphor. So why don't you take us away? Take us away. That's not even what a bat sounds like. So anyway, take us away.
I think we should
That
just
was
stop.
awful.
I know, we should just stop right now. Just be like, all right, we're just calling this one. We're done. Quickest episode ever.
One and done. That's what she said.
Oh, well, in terms of film, like first, I know I said this to you last week off the air, but I'll say it to you again this week. Like props,
you did say that.
Props to you for, working your regular 3 to 11 or 3 to midnight and then going to watch this movie after. Like,
I'll be honest, I was not aware it was 3 hours long when I went to the movie. So some of that was just stupidity on my part.
yes,
which is par for the course.
Yes, I was gonna say nothing's changed. But yeah, like in terms of film, now I'm sure we'll get into the how does this rate towards your Nolan, right? Because this, if anything, this one episode, if anybody is going to get drunk off of hearing the word Nolan or Tarantino or something like that, I'm sure
Christopher Tarantino.
I'm sure you got this going.
Boner alert.
In terms of film, just general first impression, I did enjoy it, and I didn't really go in with much expectation on it, and luckily going in early, just like a week after, I made sure I was off enough that any spoilers or even any reviews about the film like wasn't coming to me. So I wanted to judge it based off of just first impression. And I'm sure, like most people, hearing that the Twilight guy was going to be Batman, I wasn't expecting much, but I think he did a really good job playing the Bat.
Yeah, let's talk about Robert Pattinson. Since yes, he did the Twilight movies. That was his kind of made a fucking shit ton of money. But he worked on Tenet, which was by Christopher Nolan. He did The Lighthouse with. So I got a question about. So The Lighthouse has Robert Pattinson, who plays the Batman, and it has William Dafoe, who plays the Green Goblin. So does The Lighthouse technically count as like a crossover of two cinematic universes, or what? Huh? Look at that! I did like a comic book joke.
You could have just gone with like Andy Serkis, who played Alfred in this film and played Claw in the Marvel universe, and there you go, right?
Come on, that is some fucking next level nerd shit. Like there is no.
That's a quick IMDb search.
Just like when we were doing our Oscar
you want to go
show,
crazy, then
like, did you watch this international film? And you're like, what? Do I look like that guy? There's no way I'm gonna know who the Claw was.
I just figured, you would have done an IMDb search on the actors of this film. He also played Gollum in Lord of the Rings, so you can have like a whole fucking trifecta and piss off a lot of like geek culture.
He was also in The Devil All the Time, which is also great, and The King.
That's Robert Pattinson, not Andy Serkis. But
yes. We're going back to Robert Pattinson. Okay, so you did like him.
Yeah, I thought he did very well. And back to your little Nolan thing, do you know he auditioned for this role while in pre-production for Tenet?
Yeah, didn't he have to sneak out?
Yeah, and then the
And Nolan
joke.
found out, I think, right?
Well,
So
the minute he said like, "Oh, I have to go somewhere" or something like that, I guess Nolan made the comment like, "You're gonna go audition for the Bat, aren't you?"
he's like,
And
no, man, I'm just going to see a man about a horse over here.
yeah,
So okay, so I mean, let's be honest. The Batman is essentially they're two different people. They can be two characters. There's Bruce Wayne and there's the Batman. So first off, did he pull off the Batman component?
yeah, I would say so. You?
Yeah. Oh, we'll get to what I think about this stuff. And what about
I fucking love the drama, the suspense, eh?
tune in next week.
Or the 2 hour monologue about fuck comic book movies.
No, that's my own podcast. What did you think of him as Bruce Wayne?
To be honest, right? Like, I know everybody's saying like, oh, he pulled off both, right?
Okay.
But I really don't know. And like, name one actor really, like, or not one actor, but base one film that you've really seen the Bruce Wayne component, right? It's
Well,
always
you don't think Michael Keaton? There's more of it.
well, even with Keaton, like, how long was he Batman? How long? Like, in terms of film wise, it's usually a 70-30.
Like, seriously, it's not called the Bruce Wayne movie. It's not a film about Bruce Wayne. So I don't know, like, where are you going with this?
No, what I'm saying, like, in terms of the closest component to having an actor actually play the duality, in my opinion, one was Affleck in Batman versus Superman, because the Batman component came more closer to the end, so you saw a lot more of the playboy Bruce Wayne. And the other one is obviously Bale, right? And I think, see, like, it was what, Dark Knight Rises is when he pulls up in the Lamborghini with the ladies, and then he just
No, that's in Dark Knight. That's not in Dark Knight Rises. That's because he like rolls up
and then
he
goes
gets
into
out.
the pool and stuff like that. He's like,
and then he's like, I own the hotel, or he buys the hotel or whatever, right?
So in terms of that, but I'll say this, in terms of this interpretation of the Batman, we actually got to see a lot more of, his whole Batman nickname of being the world's greatest detective. You actually got to see the detective work, like following the clues and everything like that, as opposed to just, punching and kicking, and then,
or technology, right? Like, oh, I have this thing and it finds all this information for me, so we're good. Like you said, we're not actually doing like police work. I'm just rich and I own a bunch of like really high-end military grade equipment.
Yeah, that was the fucking dream.
Yeah. So I think Robert Pattinson did a fine job with his acting. This script is super fucking lacking. So this is gonna feed into like one of my quotes here. So Johnny Olinsky from the New York Post. There's an unshakable feeling here of what's the point? Not to mention the nearly 3-hour length. Holy runtime, Batman. Batman added, emphasis added by me. I was sitting in this theater being like, kind of like, oh, that's an interesting shot, but I don't really understand how this all fits into the thing. And I don't mean like I didn't understand how the components fit into the story narrative, but more like, why is all this extra stuff in this film? Like, it just felt like set pieces. Hold on. It just felt like set pieces added to other set pieces, added to oh, now romantic kiss, put that in there. Oh, because we've got this going on. Catwoman's going to use, some cat skills, mountains, cat skills. And just like set piece after set piece after set piece. So Robert Pattinson, and then you can say your piece. Robert Pattinson did a good job with his limited script, but it didn't really give him anywhere to go. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Because I also have a better quote that's going to really feed into just my whole perspective on this film. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, have you ever heard about, the internet rabbit hole?
Sure.
because
Yes.
it just
Or
seems like,
Wikipedia.
because come on, fucking the New York Post, you couldn't find the Times. Like, you're just like, I'm just gonna get this guy.
Well, I
'Cause
use a bit of confirmation bias. I find a quote that like mirrors what I think, and I'm like, okay, there's the quote I'm using, right? So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. But yeah, like, to me, I think based off of, like, there's three, in terms of mythology, there's three kind of, I'm gonna just let my geek flag fly here.
go get your geek
Okay,
freak on, buddy.
so you got
It's a
three
safe space.
technically.
It's a safe space for you.
Well, thank you. So you got three technically, not adaptions, but Superman, or sorry, not even Superman, Batman's like comic book stories they're pulling off of. You got Batman The Long Halloween, Batman Earth 1, and you got Year 2. So in terms of that, they're kind of mashing these stories together to, you get a Batman that's literally a year in. So he's still a rookie. He still doesn't have all the tech, and he's really relying on his mind and, somewhat skills to get the job done. In terms of what you're saying on set pieces, I think the one thing I did appreciate with this, and we talked about it in terms of when we talked about Blue Velvet, was actually using the shadows and using the shadows well.
Sure.
Right? When, they're coming out of the shadows, so you don't see anything, and then all of a sudden they appear, right? Just with the reflection of the light. I thought that was done really well. And also when they did that, especially with each bat reveal of him coming out of the shadows, was using the sound where you heard those heavy boots first, just clanking and clanking, that, you kind of...
Was that a rejig of the Imperial March that was in Batman? Because it sounds a lot like the Imperial March from Star Wars.
I thought it was Danny Elfman's Batman.
Oh, maybe. The scoring was good, and I do want to talk about what you're talking about, but I do want to point out, like, the soundtrack, like the contemporary music, was super cool, and the scoring was fantastic. Like the music in this is great. You'll definitely enjoy it as a listening experience. I mean, the DOP is, so what you're talking about, that aesthetic is that neo noir, right? Like that dark.
Fucking stop saying that. It doesn't.
Well, that's what
that
it's
doesn't
called.
accept.
I don't know.
Exist.
It's no. I'm saying, so first off,
I call it the Lynch factor.
Neon noir, and I'm talking neo noir. So
okay, yeah, neo noir. Okay,
yes.
Just let's say noir.
Yes, it's not just noir, but anyway, yeah, it's like super dark and stuff. I mean, the DOP is Greg Fraser, who like is up for an Oscar for Dune 2021. He also did Lion. He did Zero Dark 30. Bright Star which is Jane Champion, which is, I mean, The Power of the Dog. And then he worked with Matt Reeves on Let Me In, the remake of Don't Let Them In. The original Swedish version is much better, that film. So it's got a great aesthetic. And this is actually, so remember when we talked about Cherry? And I was like, there's a lot of like really interesting cinematography going on here, but it's almost like the cinematographer showed up and was like, so I can give you like this shot or this shot. And they were just like, yes. And he was like, okay, well, we can do this and we can do this. And they were like, yes. And it was like, sometimes it feels like a DOP run amok, where it's like, oh, so there's that scene in the trailer with the like red phosphorus, what would you call that, flare or whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, man, I can't wait to see what scene that is. And then you see that scene in the movie and I go, the only reason he's fucking doing that is so that the DOP could have a cool red flare in dark silhouetted shot. Like there's no, because in the
I'm trying
movie,
to remember.
he basically walks from, he's in the stadium and he walks from like point A to point B near the end. And I'm like, he literally does not need to do that. Like there's other ambient light already in there. And he's just like, I'm going to use this fucking dope red flare and walk 3 meters. I don't even want to get too much into the fucking plot hole of like the safest place in a flood is in the basement, like in a like hollowed area of a fucking arena. That was just fucking stupid.
I don't know, man. Like if I remember
when
correctly,
you have a flood, you go up.
Yeah,
when you're in a tornado, you go down.
Yes, I understand, but wasn't it in New Orleans when the levees broke? Wasn't the safe haven the football stadium? That's where the Superdome.
But I don't think the football stadium in New Orleans is down in, what is it, the French Quarter, or not the French Quarter, in like what is it, like Ward 6 or whatever, there were certain areas that are really close. I think the stadium's actually up out of the floodplain. Why would you build a fucking stadium in a floodplain? Think about that, right? Like, that's a fucking stupid architectural fucking decision, or from an engineering standpoint. Well, you can check out my other podcast, Engineering by Kris. That premieres on Wednesday.
Oh my God.
So
You're just trying to get rid of me already, eh?
Yeah,
You're like, fuck, I don't talk enough.
I have another quote, and it's gonna allow us to tie all this stuff in, all the conversation. So this quote is by Michelle Winterburn. She's an award-winning actor in the short film Unsolicited. Things Twilight and the new Batman movie
what? No, this doesn't fucking count. No.
I'm gonna say my quote, and then you can argue.
Like, I literally was zoned out. Like, fuck, another fucking quote until you said, like, I'm like, no. I'm calling no on this.
I do not have time for this. I do not have time for you.
This doesn't.
Okay,
count.
let me say the quote. You can argue about that, because I actually like the quote, and this is why I use this award-winning actor who's in this fantastic film Unsolicited. Things Twilight and the new Batman have in common: 1, it rains all the bloody time in both Forks and Gotham, like an absurd amount of time every day for days on end. 2, Robert Pattinson gives an excellent performance of a character whose entire personality is that of a sullen, moody, irritable teenager who experiences little to no character development. 3, no one in the theater laughed at any of the awkward jokes. 4, decent soundtrack. Bonus comment: the romantic chemistry in Twilight was at least sort of believable. I mean, I actually agree with all those points. I mean, if she wasn't so busy being like an actor in such a fantastic film like Unsolicited, I would probably just be like, yo, you should probably come on our show and co-host with me, because he definitely hits all the right marks.
Did you say he? I thought it was just she.
She.
Okay. You know, I also pulled up a quote from an award-winning actor.
Oh, here we go.
In the same movie, actually. It's super weird.
Unsolicited. It's. I heard it is taking the film festivals by storm.
It is. I believe he was second billing. I won't say his name because, you know, he'll blush and get embarrassed.
Yeah.
He'll say, I'm this. 1, he's gonna give a can moment. In terms of Patterson, he recently did an interview, and do you know who he credited to him finally believing he was an actor?
Us?
Canada's own David Cronenberg.
Oh, wow.
When he did Cosmopolis. Oh, I can't even pronounce that.
Is it Cosmopolis or something like that?
Yeah, when he did
Cosmopolis or whatever. Yeah.
When he
That's
did
a weird
that
fucking
film
movie. I mean, it's Cronenberg. It's gonna be fucking weird, right? So.
But yeah, he goes, that was the moment working with Cronenberg, and Cronenberg's suggestion and the way he made him do range, I guess, is what made him feel like he finally was an actor. So can because, you know, Canadians can get people out of Sully acting roles and based on your quote. But the other thing, I think when you're going in for popcorn and you're upset that you didn't get steak, it's not on the film, it's on you.
So you would be right. Go ahead, finish your
No.
So
just, we'll just continue with the you'll be right, and we're just going to end the conversation right there.
I feel like I was deceived. I didn't go to see the 9-hour upside down version of the fucking Justice League. You know what I mean? I went to watch this like really dark and gritty Batman movie, and I was like, okay, I mean, we've seen Christopher Nolan do this really, really well. Like The Dark Knight basically could be called like fucking crime movie. It's like it's crime movie, like the movie Heat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that is, like, to be honest, I think the reason why this movie worked for me so much was I went in with no expectations.
Lowered expectations.
Yeah, that's your Saturday night, right? That's every chick looking at your Tinder profile, like, oh, okay, fine.
No expectations.
Oh shit!
I didn't go in thinking it's going to be Nolan. I didn't go in thinking it's going to be Burton. Since 1989, I've literally heard, and every Batman film is, we're now taking another, another dark take on the Batman. Now an even darker take on the Batman. Now a super dark take on the Batman.
So do
Pretty
you really
soon,
want like a super bright rainbow take on the Batman now?
yeah,
Just fucking flip the
it's
script.
called Batman the movie with Adam West, because that guy runs around with a fucking giant bomb and he couldn't throw it. If you haven't seen it, that is a super light and awesome, funny film for the Batman. But also, what I'm saying is, there's no you going in, and you probably the whole time are comparing it because of Nolan and your fascination with Nolan. You're probably like, fuck, Nolan would have done this, Nolan would have done that, right?
Well, and I also, when I go to a movie that we're going to review, I go in like a film critic, like I'm fucking supposed to.
See, and that's the difference, right? I go in and I just watch the film. I don't try to critique it. I let the film speak for itself. And I think
But
in
it
terms of
wash over
casting,
you.
exactly, like in terms of casting, I think the cast did very well. Like, I know we're only talking about Patterson, but fucking Colin Farrell,
You
like,
got
that
Zoe
guy
Kravitz,
disappears.
Paul Dano. Yeah. Let's just briefly talk. Like, it's the prosthetic was so good that it didn't look like prosthetics. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
exactly.
he just became that character.
Yeah, I saw an interview he was doing, and he was talking about like his first day on set with the prosthetics, that he came out and he walked past Jeffrey Wright, said hi to him, kept on walking. Jeffrey Wright just looked at him, not knowing who the fuck he was, and then went to go talk to Matt Reeves. Like, I think some guy just like walked on the set, like trying to get him kicked off the set.
That's hilarious. Man, you know what's been awesome is if Colin Farrell just like let it happen. Like, just let security come and like fucking escort him out the fucking door and be like, you can't do this to me. Don't you know who I am?
No, right. but yeah, like, he totally disappeared, and I can see why now they're, in the multimedia market where you got to feed HBO Max as well, that he now is going to have his own HBO Max show as the Penguin.
I think he made a good Penguin. I mean, Danny DeVito it's sort of like Danny DeVito Penguin is what the Jack Nicholson Joker is to like the Heath Ledger. You know what I mean? They're both good. They're both really great. They're just very different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, except, the Danny DeVito Penguin was a lot more perverted. Like, just remember, in Batman Returns, he literally said he was going to eat out his secretary on the desk. And then they sold McDonald's toys of this movie. Just remember that, people. There's no McDonald's toys of this movie. At least I don't think so. I'm too old to go to McDonald's toys.
Do you like to eat out? Well, you can eat out at McDonald's. No, it doesn't work.
You like it.
It's all over my face.
Yeah, like Paul Dano as the Riddler. I do like this take, right? Like, it's a lot more serious.
Well, I mean, what do you have to compare it to? Like Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
Like, I like Jim Carrey, but like not his finest moment. You know what I mean?
Really? I don't know. But yeah, he's not taking over the world with TV sets. But yeah, like, I think in terms of what it is, it leads enough that I think what Matt Reeves did, and I know you're talking about, the bad writing, I think it does enough that this is technically one of the better comic book movies, in which, if you think of it as a comic book, you can read it's a one and done, but it leaves just enough that if you want to come back next month and read the next story, you can, right? You got the Joker cameo, you got the Hush reference, so they lead enough of enough other Batman villains in this one that it can continue, and obviously it's going to continue. Like, this movie is fucking dropping all the money. Everybody's dropping money on this film, and I think it's going to continue. I think it'll win the next 2 weeks at the box office because it doesn't really have much competition.
Yeah, what I've got right now, it's got a $200 million budget, and it's done $600 million. That's kind of like some rough numbers. And like you said, there's nothing else there to stop it. So, I mean, do you think it adds another 4? Do you think it becomes a B?
I don't think it needs to. That's the problem, right?
Well, I mean, trust me, they'll take the money. Do you think it will? That's my question. No, you don't think
No.
it'll break $1 billion?
No, because I think, like I said, I think WB, like Warner Brothers, I think they're very adamant. They're sticking to the 45-day window.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think in 45, well, probably by the middle of next month, that's what I'm saying, like the next 2 weeks, it'll probably be on HBO Max, and which will take away that kind of revenue. But I think
But they've made their money. They're happy. They've got a franchise.
they've made it. Yeah, they've already made like 3 to 4 times that amount. And I think there's still parts of Europe where, it still hasn't even opened. So
like Russia
and China. So I think those two might get it close to $1 billion, but I think it's one of those things that if they're able to do it, in which this would be the first time. I know Ron Howard, it was his whole plan for The Dark Tower was you have a movie, you have a TV show, they intersect, then you go back to the movie. They might be able to pull this off with this Batman franchise, right? Just in this tiny little world, right? Where you don't need another Justice League. It's not interconnected with anything. And it's just going to really feed itself, especially if, the Penguin show ends up being as good a quality, because you can have technically a fucking Scarface, an 8-episode Scarface, but instead of Al Pacino, you have the Penguin taking over these 2 mob cities that they kind of opened up in this film.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely interesting stuff there. Like, I mean, the connection between the Waynes and the Arkhams and all that. Like, again, I don't know. For me, it was really like long. It seemed kind of pointless. Batman seemed to be showing up and leaving. There was a lot of shots of Batman showing up and leaving scenes.
Can we trust him?
Seems to be about the best that we've got. Batman? Batman?
I found something.
And not so much in the scene. I was like, the fuck is going on here? It's like a lot. And again, if you're listening at home, just picture something framed with light and a lot of walking into the frame and standing there, and then standing there and leaving the frame. Like,
yes, I understand what you're saying.
It's
but
like when you edit a film, you often get, like, when you're doing like, it makes me think of like a self-tape where you sometimes walk into the frame on the camera, you get yourself ready, you do your thing, then you walk back out and you turn off the camera. It's like they took out the middle part that you're supposed to send to the casting director, and they took the front part and the back part and they put it together and they sent that to the casting director. So
no, I get what you're saying, but I know you were talking about the writing, but I think the one thing they did was they really explained why he did that, like why he's just kind of standing there in scenes because he's technically recording everything, right, with his little eye camera.
If you liked Batman Begins, you'll like Batman Shows Up and Batman Leaves.
the one thing I kind of like, just off kind of thing, like, did you see how, like, in this film, like in every Batman film, how everybody's like cool with this grown man dressed in a bat costume, like the cops, like he comes in, he does his little investigations, they're all like kind of looking at him walking around. Like, I kind of want to see, the origin story of the cops who literally just see this grown man in a bat costume and just
they tase him.
Piss themselves laughing so much. Like, what the fuck is going on? Right?
I feel like that's something that already exists on like College Humor.
I was a boy. Now I'm a bat. I'm sorry. My suit is cool.
Like that 100% already must exist. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think it does. But I think we just came up with our next short film.
There we go. How did you like Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman?
You know what? I thought you did an awesome job. Right. And, going back to checking how she auditioned for Nolan and was told she was too urban to have the part.
Is that a fact? That is that is a known fact.
Yeah. She even mentioned
Who said
it.
that? Nolan or the casting director? Because if it's the
Well,
casting director, somebody needs to get fired fast.
Well, I'm assuming Nolan probably had final fucking cut on who he was casting.
Wow,
right?
Too urban. Well, I'm glad. I mean, Halle Berry had already been Catwoman by this point.
Yeah, I don't think that movie counts though. Right? Like I think it counts
Halle
now.
Berry counts that movie.
Well, she does. She's like the only fucking person that actually showed up at the Razzies to accept.
Which is class, by the way. I think if you ever win a Razzie, you fucking get in your tuxedo and you go down there and you thank the Academy or whoever, the Razzamademy or whoever the fucking hands them out, and you just do the whole thing. I will take a Razzie. I am more than happy to get a Razzie. So,
I think she did really good, and I think her story arc kind of you've set her up as an anti-hero. All right, like
sure.
she'll.
But I mean, that character is an anti-hero. I mean, sometimes it's the Catwoman's a straight criminal, but it seems recently it's been an anti-hero.
Yeah, like I'm thinking about all the actresses that played her, right? Like the only one that she was straight up villain was in the Adam West 1960 whatever, right? Like even Michelle
Pfeiffer.
Yeah, she was the anti, right? Because she was wronged by him and killed, and she was trying to avenge that. But yeah,
that she was actually better with her whip than the person hired to train her with her whip. By the end, she practiced so much. She was like a fucking master whipper, opposed to a masturbator.
I was gonna say, who's her husband again? David E. Kelly, right? Good for him. Good for him. Those are some Red Room nights.
Those are some Red Room nights. So I mean, the critics gave it 85. That's solid. Audience 88. Solid. I mean, we'll see if those numbers change. Again, I say if you're a fan of the Bat, wait till it comes home on HBO Max or a streaming service. You don't have to watch it in the theater. Again, the cinematography is nice, but you're gonna be fucking bored. That's my take. What about you, Scott? And then you can take us out.
Yeah, I think a year from now we're gonna when we're doing our Oscar predictions, when they have this movie down for best film and best director, then Kris has to really, I'm fucking calling it now. I guarantee it will happen.
Okay, fuck that. I gotta say this then. What's the guarantee? Call it and then take us out and we'll get into our post show.
I just said, I guarantee this film is going to get nominated for best picture and best director and most likely best cinematography.
The hell are you supposed to be? I'm vengeance.
And that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com. How the fuck do you use Michelle's fucking quote?
Isn't that awesome?
It's not fucking awesome.
You're just mad I didn't use one of your quotes.
No,
You would have been all
quotes.
about it if it was a fucking... So, Scott Vega, world-renowned actor in the short film Unsolicited.
Yeah, that much I don't know.
Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.